Alex is spelling right now. It's fine. A 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Oh no, we have a spiel now. I have to make sure to look at it. I have to do it
It's
again.
okay.
I got to reset it.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
And today we have a special guest. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Eric Silver. I am the DM of Join the Party, a Dungeons and Dragons actual play podcast with tangible worlds, genre-pushing storytelling, and collaborators who make each other laugh each week. We just finished our second campaign as of yesterday when we were recording this episode, and we're slowly going into a new thing after that. I'm also the head of creative at Multitude Productions. Oh, actually, it's not productions. See, being sick is fucking with my head. I'm also the head of creative at Multitude, a podcast collective and studio. So I make podcasts full time, man. My part of my job is playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it's pretty fun. I cannot believe it. But I'm very excited to be here. I was also an English teacher back in the day. I taught high school English for like 9th graders and 11th graders and maybe some seniors for like 1 year all the way in South Brooklyn. I had like my education degree. I got certified by the state. It was a whole thing. And then like there was a grade fixing scandal and I felt very disillusioned by teaching. So I left. But a lot of the stuff that I did as an English teacher kind of informs what I do as a dungeon master. And I thought you two would find that interesting. So,
yeah,
we do.
I want to put, I guess, Dallas on blast. My district is wild. And especially I started teaching through the pandemic. I started teaching, January 2021. I was working in higher ed, which is how I met Adrian, with hating being an academic advisor at the school that I was at. I was like, I have a teaching degree. I have a master's. Why am I not teaching? And then every day is sometimes a struggle.
Yes.
So especially I'm in 3rd grade, and 3rd grade starts a standardized testing for the children, the STAR test.
Oh my God, it's that early? Oh my God.
3rd grade. And it's the first time that they've had to take a 4-hour test. I also work in a very low income, high need, struggling area.
Sure. And
so my students came in mostly kindergarten, 1st grade reading level, needing to read on a 3rd grade level and analyze the text. So next year I'm moving to art because I'm never teaching another standardized test.
Yeah, man. Teaching an English standardized test is the weirdest thing. They're like, hey, and now having analysis skills is very important, but you have to analyze it in the same way that this fucking dude who wrote this standardized test wants you to analyze it. It's counter to what the whole point of reading and looking at language is, and it doesn't make any sense. It didn't make sense to me as a student, and it didn't make any sense to me as a teacher. So I 100% feel you. Also, nothing is more motivating than looking at like your master's degree, wherever the fuck it is, like in your brain being like, I should use this. My master's degree is somewhere in my dad's house. I don't know where the fuck it is, but like I think about it all the time. I'm like, I have a higher education degree. I should use this for something, or like it's gonna haunt me. Yeah. And right now it's just I say Praxis a lot. Yeah, that's the main thing that I do.
That's fine. I say Pedagogy a lot. Like
those are two great words.
They
Praxis.
Are.
I wish Praxis fit into Wordle. Then I would feel really smart.
Oh my gosh, it's hard. I don't know what else to do. And a lot of these kids, I mean, they just have there's no background knowledge. There's not a lot except for TikTok. So if I can relate it through TikTok, then I'm usually doing pretty okay. But this test is killing me. So here's my formal request to take away all standardized testing from children.
I second it. Let's do that.
All right. The something's in motion.
We did it.
We did it.
There's Robert's rules.
We don't have to reconvene for 6 months. We did all the work that we have to do.
Can we make $120,000 and just have this moment and then be done?
I would love that. That would be so nice.
Fabulous.
That's wonderful. Tell me about Join the Party. I know you had your introduction, but like, how did it become? What brought this upon?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been doing Join the Party since Oh man, time doesn't mean anything. It's very funny because my fiance and I got together right around the time that the show started, and Amanda McLaughlin, who's also on the show with me. So I'm trying to track it by there, but time doesn't mean anything anymore. We started the show back in June 2017. This was like when the Adventure Zone was like the only other Dungeons and Dragons podcast out there, and like no one else was doing anything. Like the genre hadn't exploded at all, but we had looked at it and we're like, this show, you can be more intentional with the Dungeons and Dragons stuff you do. Like the whole thing, the whole magic of D&D shows is like, wow, I'm listening in on a game that someone is playing. That's so wonderful. And I think that on some level, there's always some amount of that. But I feel like there was the recognition that this is a creative thing we're doing. It's a medium. It's a show in like the let's put on a show sort of way. And you can make choices to facilitate that for folks. So like in our first 2 episodes, we taught people how to play Dungeons and Dragons. Like we have a beginner track where we have like tool tips, where Amanda pops in and is like, hey, this is why we're rolling this. This is a dexterity save. This is why we do this. And like it was intercut to our first episodes. And we were trying to be as intentional as possible about making a podcast, making a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, making a piece of Dungeons and Dragons media. The first campaign was like this high fantasy. I call it pop culture fantasy, like in the way that you can walk into like a medieval like a fantasy town, and there's like there's a joke sneaker there. They're like air dragons or something. Mm-hmm. That's like the kind of genre we were working with. We had that campaign. We did it for like 2 years, and it was really fun. And then we immediately started thinking about what we're going to do in our second campaign, and we did this modern sci-fi superhero story that just wrapped up yesterday, and it's been really wild, like reskinning, thinking about Dungeons and Dragons as a tool for storytelling, tabletop RPGs as a tool for storytelling, coming up with my own games, like turning myself into a game designer to facilitate people having fun and making interesting creative content. And we're thinking about what we're going to do next, and it's really fun. We do after parties, so every episode of the first campaign and every 2 episodes, but now 3 episodes, because now we're weekly, we do after parties where we talk about what we did and talk about like what it means to play games and what it's like to do this. And I know a lot of people have picked that up and it now puts that as like their Patreon content, but that's always been free. That's always been a part of the podcast for us. The show is about like all shows that are part of Multitude, it's about showing the thing that you love and trying to make other people understand just how passionate you are about it and like welcoming them in. It's like an open arm hug. Everyone is here, and you just need to have a good time and follow along.
Heck yeah.
I really did like listening to, because I knew how to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I remember now that I'm flashing back to 2017, like, oh my gosh, our hair was one color. I remember listening being like, oh yeah, okay, that's like, I really liked the tone that set. And then, I don't know, hearing somebody from a different area, like in life, but still sounds so familiar, like it was comforting. And I think listening to your after parties, I'm like, oh, okay, like those are ways you can implement different things. I just like listening to the behind the scenes. I worked at Disney. I still love Disney. It still like has that magic for me. So like peeking behind the curtain, at least for me as a listener or a person who enjoys content, is never going to ruin the magic for me, except for real magic. I hate real magic is dumb as fuck. That's the only time I'd never want to see your content. Like I don't want to see how it happens, but like,
I'm going to put all my card tricks away. I'm so sorry that I was going to show that to you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really weird. He's like, can we do card tricks on the podcast? And I was like, they're not going to know. And he's like,
is this Adrian? Is this your card?
Yeah, but the viewers don't know. Also, you just put your deck down and then came up right with my card. It was weird.
Alex, it's funny that you say something about looking behind the curtain, especially as in terms of Disney, in that there is a certain amount of like magic that happens at the table, in that like you don't know what the DM's notes are and the players are going to do what they're going to do, and you don't know if something is planned or you don't know if it was improvisational, and deciding what to reveal and what not to reveal is like, do I want to tell my players and then the listeners, because like it's, you're of a 3-pronged triangle now instead of a two-way relationship, how much do I want to tell them about what I'm doing? Educationally, like pedagogically, there are things, see, I did it, is that you want to reveal to make people feel more comfortable. I have the ability to play my character like this because this character did it. I can come up with stuff just like Eric did because he did it, and then he showed me what to do and like what he looked up and where he can access stuff, or like what he pulled from or what other game inspired him. Yeah, for sure. But like I always feel very hesitant about what I say I'm doing at when I'm literally DMing. Like people really, really want to know what's planned and what's not. And like I'm just like, do you really want to know? Do you want to see how the animatronics are made, what it looks like underneath the Goofy? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like on some level, if you love animatronics and you love electronics, you want to see what this is. But I don't want to scare people when they see it's a robot underneath the sweet mouse mask. You know what I mean?
Right. Because then to a certain degree, it's how much am I to emulate Eric Silver while I'm DMing and avoiding my own learning and my own DM? Because me, Alex, I'm never going to look like Adrian or Eric. I'm never going to do because my brain
hair.
I have zero beard. I have 2 beard hair. And
one for me, one for Eric.
See, that's it. For me, in the way that I think about things, I like to have a structure. I like to know what is available to me. And I like listening to people behind the curtain because that gives me ideas for my own play. Not because I'm anxious and I'm saying, oh, I'm going to stick absolutely to the script and I'm never going to get off script because I don't know what to do or I don't trust myself off of this script. But just listening enough to the anxiety, being like, okay, I need somewhat of a model, but how does this model or what pieces can I take that apply to me?
I think what's really important about that and why I'm talking about being intentional is like, this is where people start talking about like the Matt Mercer effect. And I don't think that's fair. I think it's saying something more like Dimension 20 expectations or critical expectations, because I don't want to lay that at the feet of the DMs. For those of you who don't know and who don't troll fucking tabletop RPG media, Tumblr, Twitter, Reddit, like I do, is that people come to their table after only consuming usually Critical Role or Dimension 20 or any of their D&D media. And they're like, this isn't as good as that. I don't like it. You're not Matt Mercer. You're not Brendan Lee Mulligan. And I don't want to leave that at their feet, because I think that they're both incredibly talented and they deserve what they're doing. But I think the other thing is that, like, hey, you're not a professional actor player, and all the players are professional actors. And it sure does make you look good when as a DM, when your players are like all the way up here in terms of improvisation and character voice and knowing their shit, in that they can do that as well. But also, like I said, the creative medium, there is so much happening behind the scenes. I don't know if like you've seen the credits on Dimension 20, but like that shit takes like 30 seconds to run through at like credit speed. There are so many people who work on that show.
Yep.
And that's the thing that I think separates this, is that like you don't know when things are edited out. You don't know the amount of support, how many people whose job it is for a DM to run these notes by you. That like someone is painting minis for you. Someone is making a video or some sort of like the ambiance of the dome for Dimension 20, or like, I mean, Critical Role films in a giant studio out in LA. You know what I mean? And I think for podcasts as well, people do not remember that podcasts are edited or sound designed, or that you can record things later or at different times. And like, that's the thing that people need to remember, that like a home game is different than the medium, because the medium is the thing. I also want to point out, like, for Rude Tales of Magic or D&Daddies, they don't even roll. They like, it's pretty much just an improvisational show at that time, which is fine. But like, that's what it is. That's an improv show. And like, that's always going to be different than what's at your show, which is why as an educator, as a games and creative educator, I need to be intentional about what I'm showing folks, both like on our Patreon when I give notes, or when I show my notes, which are always scattershot and always all over the place, or like on the after parties, if what I did, and like, here's how you can be a better participator in games, is the thing, because it's like, that's separate than like the conversation I have with Brandon, our editor, sound designer, and player, like about slotting things in, where music happens, how he makes me sound better because everything sounds better with music under it. Like that, there's that conversation, and then there's like the games conversation. I feel like that is such like a teachery thing to be like, how and why am I teaching this to you? So that, and how are you going to apply that into your life, your thing, whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I would pass along to Brandon that every time we end our show, I sing the old version of the theme song, the first version, like a little just, and I don't know why I do it. I do it every single. So there's your little shout. It's every single time. I compulsively do it whenever we end our podcast. I sing like an off tune version of your podcast.
I may or may not have a supercut.
If it helps, I do it too. I 100% do it too. When I want to do the cliffhanger and I want to tell them it's over, I go da 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 da. I 100% do that. So like that's helpful though, because it's also that's helpful because how do you tell players your session is over? Like you're gonna be like, we're done. You know, you gotta have some sort of other cue.
You're right. How does Adrian know when the podcast is over for the day if I don't make the sound?
We literally do an outro.
I respect it though. That's incredible, Alex. Thank you for sharing that. But like that's, you know, you can take all these things and apply it to your own life, but you need to know, like, is it a creative, are we doing a creative thing or are we doing something for fun? And you know, you have so much more space to do goofy shit and like weird and funny and like not on the mic, not just sitting at a table playing a game stuff than you can do as a player. Or you can do not in a microphone. My favorite thing that I love to do as a DM, the limited times I've gotten to do it, I love putting games inside of my sessions. Like, I like making a maze and then downloading a bunch of mazes offline and giving it to my players and having them do it instead of roll. And like that, it dictates if you're lost in the maze or not. It's like you could have rolled survival, but I would rather you do this maze and how fast can you do this in a minute as opposed to just rolling a die. So that's the kind of stuff. Misha Stanton, who's a senior editor at Multitude, but also I get to bounce DM notes off of them because I have no one else to talk to. And also they tell me about their game that they run. They're like, hey, there's going to be this festival and like a bunch of my players want to sell stuff at the festival. How are we going to do that? And I'm like, well, you could just roll charisma, I guess. And then it's like, here's 200 gold, I guess. But I'm like, all right, here's the game, right? Is that you need to have three judgment categories, like one for charisma, one on like efficacy of product, and one of like how you are relating to the audience, and then that is going to be on a scale of 1 to 5 each one, and every person has to actually sell their wares, but you get 2 or 3 actions to facilitate understanding what's happening. So you get to roll a perception check about like who is in the crowd. Like, are they rich people? Are they like moms who are overwhelmed? Are they like ruffians? Are they teens? Or you could use your action to use thaumaturgy and to improve what you're doing, like or use a spell. And like, so it becomes less that the roles don't dictate what you're doing. You're still performing. And then Misha will give amount of gold depending on their general score of like 13 out of 15 or whatever. And then of course, like there's a table according to however much money that is. But it wasn't just like roll and see what happens. It's like you're still playing the game. You're having fun. And like so much about being a creative GM is being a game designer at the same time, even if it's very low level. And like I remember doing that as a teacher, like coming up with interesting lessons and making a game, like as being a camp counselor for a very long time and coming up with games and like activities for campers to be. It's all, you're just inventing games. The whole thing is game designing. And I feel like bringing that fun, that ultimately the product you're creating at your table is fun. You should do whatever it takes to make fun. The dice is just fate. It's a representation of fate. Instead of being like, hey DM, what happens? And you're like, you die. You get shot in the face and you die. There's some dice that say otherwise so that you don't have to make the decision. But everything else should be facilitating fun.
Right. I haven't been able to share this because I have to wait till it happened. But in my game, I went to go visit one of my players in LA. and I hid secret notes. I had two, and I told them, like, one of the characters, like, I'm going to pick it up. I'm like, you know what? No, Dave, you pick it up. I'm like, that's weird. Why did you just say that? All right, Dave, turn on your camera for just me, and I want to see you stumble around where I think I put it, because it's been a while. And I gave him a secret letter, and it's, well, okay, I can't say the rest.
No, it's fine.
Actually, no, wait, I'll say the rest. They'll figure it out eventually. I wrote a secret, like, a lot of misspellings, similar to, like, what was it, the Baudelaire children, when that English teacher.
Yeah.
So, like, they have to figure out what's misspelled and what it actually says. And it's like, as soon as they figure it out, a spell will be cast on them. So, like, I gave them, like, tactile things. And I want to, like, send out my players a bunch of stuff. But, like, I got a plan. And they just ruined my leveling from 4 to 7 and just immediately jumped to the end. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I 100% feel you on that. I love tactile stuff is so great. The thing is, though, what do you get in return as a GM or DM is, like, I just want you to tell me that this was sick, right? And, like, players are too busy being players sometimes to do that. So it's like you put all this work into it, and then Dave is like, oh, what the fuck is this? Adrian, what the hell? And, like, then you're like, what? No, I tried. It's also, like, very tough. Like, I hope the spell that gets cast on them is good. Because if it's bad, they're going to be so pissed and they're never going to indulge you ever again in the fun things you can do. Right? It is so behavioral. Like, you are the relationship. Even though you are a steward, I think it is a service position, the GM or the DM. Is like, it looks like I have power, but really my job is to make you have fun. You still need to balance and make sure that, like, if you're making them do something hard, there needs to be a reward at the end. Like, it needs to be fun and good. You can't punish them. The thing you punish them for is, like, not paying attention. The thing you punish them for is, like, leaving clues everywhere and them ignoring it. The thing that I think about a lot is, like, regardless of what your players are doing, someone else is doing something somewhere else. There's a Monster of the Week is really good about that. Have you played, or do you know about Monster of the Week?
I just bought it. I'm like, everyone keeps talking about Monster of the Week. I gotta try it.
It's very, very fun. It's very fun. Powered by the Apocalypse, the game system that it is, it's very form follows function. Like, the thing that you're doing is to facilitate a very specific type of story you want to tell. So, like, Masks is like, this is a story about teenage superheroes. Very specific, right? Like, Monster Hearts is these are about teenage monsters. Monster of the Week is like, we are telling an episode of X-Files. We are telling a TV episode of Supernatural or Buffy.
Right.
And, like, that really follows the function. But it's very much about, you guys need to pick up the mystery of what's happening or everyone dies. And the way that you do that is you write out, like, a time clock about what would happen if no one intervened. And I think that really helps you be reminded that other shit happens somewhere else, and also gives you consequences if they fail a roll or if they don't follow the thread.
Right.
And bringing that idea into your D&D game. D&D is really good at, like, some very specific stuff. It's really bad at other stuff. I don't give a shit whatever the fuck is going on in the Forgotten Realms. If I wanted to read that, I could just go... I don't know, go read some, like, Norse mythology fanfic or some shit. Like, I don't give a shit, but, like, D&D's very good for... D&D's very good about, like, rolling action, having actions matter and fighting, but you gotta bring in other stuff to tell the specific story that you want to tell. Or at least be inspired by other games.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, you're just, I want more XP. Okay, this is not going to be fun for me, but let's do it, I guess.
Yeah, go farm some goblins, I guess. I'll go make up some goblins.
I'll give them all names and tragic backstories. Every time you hit, a flashback happens, just so I can get my story fix.
Honestly, that's punishment, right? It's like, well, you want a content farm, so every time you kill a goblin, they have a letter from their child in their pocket. That's what you get.
A badly drawn picture of the whole family.
It says, "Daddy, I love you. Come home now." From Blorvis Jr.
God love.
But now they're tactile, so you have real children write these letters, and then you bring them and you present them to your players.
Alex, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
If you need outsourced letters, I may have a school for it. They will be misspelled and it'll be beautiful.
Incredible.
That's child labor, isn't it? Is that what that is?
I mean,
as long as you're not making money from your game, I think it's fine.
Oh my gosh. I did get to be a part. Speaking of punishment, I guess I don't know.
Gosh, what is this?
I got to be a part as Adrian killed his very first player. And it was such an honor. I gave him so much shit because it took until like this week. Last week.
It's been like 2.5 years
ago.
And I finally did it. You know, the other campaigns had like Revivify and all this stuff, and this one, they weren't high enough. And they're out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, if I bring in some bullshit reason this person's alive, they'll never fear death again.
Right.
It was tragic.
It was. It's also, you said, if you've listened to the podcast, you know Adrian's not going to kill anyone at the beginning of the episode. And mentally, I'm like, I added one monster to the whole tally every time you goaded me. It's like,
that's fair. You're well within your rights. And like sometimes the dice wants them to die. It's just what happens.
Yeah, and also apparently I did, because all I said was don't roll a 1, and they rolled a 1 on their death save. That was the killing blow. And I'm like, oh man, that was me.
What are you gonna do?
It was tragic. It was wild. I mean, that's an experience I don't think anybody else would really have. It was like being like an NPC player and then experiencing like the death of a party member and being like, I don't have any feelings because I don't care. But then like just being witnessed, I'm not saying this at all mean towards anybody in that party, for sure. But it was just like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's so hard. I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm starting a new show that's going to come out from Multitude. Exclusive. This is going to come out soon. We're starting a new show called Games and Feelings. It's an advice show about games. It's a games advice show. And you know how, like, in any advice show you might listen to, whether it's straight up or comedy, is like a lot of these things, like, you're being put into a very specific and a heightened situation where, like, someone's going to lose their character who they're probably attached to. And, like, I'm worried that they're going to flip around on Alex and being like, well, because you were fucking here, then you didn't save it or whatever. Like, that's so scary to come in and be like, I'm here to make some jokes. Burp, burp, burp. And then, like, someone dies. It's like, well, that is different. And, like everything, it's like an exchange and a relationship of people. Like, if someone's really upset, what do? I would take back the kill. I would figure something out.
Yeah. Because,
like, I don't want anyone to feel bad. And I don't want anyone, especially if, like, the new random person is there and they can be caught in the blame or anything. Like, that would freak me out.
Thankfully, there was already an in-game scapegoat named one of our actual PCs who was just like, I'm going to run away from my teammates. And I'm like, I'll put the guest spots in here. Party. This is what's going to happen now. Oh my gosh. But like, we had that conversation before, like, is death okay? What do we want? And everyone signed up. Like, we had a whole consent form of what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Right.
And it was really good because, like, some things that I never even thought about putting in my game, or like that I might have accidentally just, like, you know, like terminal illness. I'm like, I don't think about that. But now I definitely know this shouldn't be in my game. Mm-hmm. And like arachnids, like no spiders. I'm like, that's fine. There's a whole other things that we can do. There's plenty of other bugs to mess around with.
Yeah.
So
I think about that a lot. I've been watching Gravity Falls lately.
Mm-hmm. So good.
And like, it's very funny watching it on Disney Plus because the tag at the end is like Disney XD original. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, Disney fucking made this. Disney approved on this. And especially at the end, spoilers for the end of Gravity Falls, the show that's been out for like 15 years. But like, things get very, very body horror weird at the end. Yes. Like when there's like, you see a body and then like the skin and then the meat and all these things get pulled off of it. And it gets very, very weird. I'm like, it's funny that this was allowed on a kid's show for Disney, but like, there wasn't blood necessarily. There wasn't, and there's some violence.
Yes.
And there's no boobs, obviously. There's no nudity. But it's funny how, like, you can still fuck up someone. Like, be like, hey, that's a really disturbing thing. That monster, that ghost, that, like, body horror thing.
Mm-hmm.
How you can still put that in there while still facilitating to people's wants and needs about what they would put on their consent form. Like, I don't know. It's funny what people look for or then become like the hallmarks of the genre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in an Oscar movie, needs to have like someone who like gained 50 pounds and wears a fucking nose, and like someone has AIDS and then they cry and whatever, right? And like for D&D media, it's like we're gonna talk about dicks and then someone's gonna die and then like some other stuff happens, and I'm like, I also think that's funny that you just talked about dicks, but like we can do so much else if someone feels a type of way and thinks that might turn them off. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to say that like we're the populist show, but like I think a lot about like the stuff they do on like Adventure Time and Gravity Falls and God, what's the one that's all about fall and is really spooky? Over the Garden Wall.
Oh,
how you can still be emotional and like shake someone,
mm-hmm.
but don't necessarily do this. Also, we say fuck and we make jokes like that all the time. I just like, I don't know. I think about that, how like in the first episode of Not Another D&D podcast, they do like 15 minutes of jokes about dragon pussy. And I'm like, that's fine, but like what a strong choice for episode 1.
Truly.
And like they're from College Humor. They're improvisers. Yeah. Like, yeah, dragon pussy hilarious. But like
how much of it? How much? What we should have, as soon as we started the dragon pussy conversation, there should have been a timer, and someone should have been in the back going, "All right, we're done.
We met our quota."
Exactly. Intentionality. All I'm asking for is intentionality.
Yes.
Because in a lot of shows there are, and a lot of shows they're not, because of how the people and the experience there are around. I'm just always for intentionality. And like, am I doing something very intentional? Because like podcasting, especially with the amount of edits you can do that are seamless and the sound design you can do, that's like out of nowhere, that it's like, it's not video, how you need to like match faces and stuff like that. And you got to bring someone back into a studio. Continuity, lighting, you can just kind of like do it in the same studio. Like the least I can do, I want to play around and be as intentional as possible about what I'm doing.
Right.
Especially for like boss stuff, man. Like when you're doing a big fucking thing and you forget that you were going to do this big, you forgot you were going to do this big speech. And then like you just got into it because you're so nervous and you've been prepping this boss for like hours. And then you're like, you know what? I want to do a pickup and put in some of the interesting stuff I wrote in there. I'll say in the final episode, in the finale, I put in a very large villain monologue because I forgot to do it because I was very nervous. And also I'm like, oh, you guys don't know all the stuff I did behind the scenes on behalf of the villain. Like the way the guy in campaign 2, our big bad Gutenberg, who is like, he has his power is that he can just like make stuff as if he was a human printing press or a 3D printer. And he's very much like a very rich guy, VC capital, embodiment of capitalism, which I know very hot in Dungeons and Dragons video right now. Very hot right now. I wanted him to be like Slade from Teen Titans. Like Teen Titans, the early 2000s cartoon was kind of like my touch point for this. And I'm like, this guy is always one step ahead of everyone else and is doing something at the same time. And I realized like, oh, I didn't say all the stuff I did. I should say all the stuff I did so that the audience knows what was happening. And I thought it was really fulfilling, and I'm really glad that I got to add it. But we put it in later when I was able to write it all down because I was able to, because I really wanted everyone to enjoy that, both the players and when they listened to the episode and the audience, once it was out there.
Do you think, as your players, did you think they lost anything that you didn't get to do that monologue live and that they had to hear it back?
No, it felt very exposition-y. Like, from a writing perspective, I think it went pretty okay, and I think people pretty enjoyed it. But like, it was definitely exposition in the way that TV needs to put exposition in and like tell you stuff. Like, I think about also, I put in like a scene later on where like, oh, I don't think that this is being expressed clear enough, or I'm going to do it 3 sessions afterwards. Like after you guys have already played forward 3 sessions and an episode's going to come out, I'm going to put in a scene that you wouldn't have seen the players, but the listeners or a TV audience would have seen it. Like, I kind of like cut away to like a mysterious laboratory and had like a conversation that was like all foreshadowing, right? But I didn't want to do that in front of my players because they didn't know what the turn was. They didn't know they were going to go to this mysterious laboratory. And I wanted to make sure to keep that in my pocket. But like they didn't lose that because they're embodying the players, or the players are embodying the characters, and they wouldn't have known. So that's what's hard for me, balancing the creative entity and the game itself. I have to put stuff in like later, which I think is fine. I don't know. I think like I also one of my players had to keep a secret, like had to do a secret favor for someone else, and everyone knew that this favor was going to come through, but they wouldn't have, like, the person who was asking for the favor wouldn't have done it in front of all three of the player characters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, Amanda, do you want to turn off the camera, and we're just going to play this together in front of the players? And they're like, oh, and like Brandon and Julia were like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, do it. So like I told them that a secret was going to happen, but then it was up to Amanda later to share what had happened on that excursion in game. So like you can do that in front of folks, say that there is a secret, but sometimes you don't even want to say it's a secret to keep the magic alive. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's always worthwhile to facilitate what's helpful for the listeners, but still keep the game magic alive, and then put the burden on Amanda to have told what was happening. So I hope not. I hope people don't like it when I don't do that, but I think it's pretty fun.
Well, it makes sense because you're producing content to be episodic. It should feel somewhat like a melodrama on the radio.
Yeah.
So that makes sense as well. So like in my brain, that makes sense.
I want it to be like Riverdale. Everyone is like played by an actor 9 years older than they should be. They're super hot. They're cut. I think though they're okay with it because I let them do a lot of world building from the jump. Like we do a lot of world building in the beginning, something I really wanted to do in the beginning of this campaign, and then what we're going to do after this is like do collaborative world building games to put together the place so that they're bought into the world, so then I can do kind of like the creative exposition, and that's okay. Because like I want them to feel bought in that we're telling the story together, even if I'm the one and be like, hey, we're going to do a modern superhero game in upstate New York. Cool. How does that sound? And everyone's like, all right. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to build this city from the ground up. Here's how we're going to do it. And having them buy into that kind of gives me permission to mess with some other stuff for their benefit, of course. But like the other thing about DMing is like, you never want to feel like you have ultimate power, because then no one's going to have fun. They're like, you're power tripping just for them.
Right.
And we all know that players are going to try to name things because they want to put that input.
They want to be part of the story.
Right. They want that. And why not invite that in early? So once again, you can release the naming of one more thing, and then you can take something evil and place it in later, and you take that currency, So now once again, everything is a DM trap. I'm going to let you world build, but I'm going to fuck you up later.
Exactly. It's a trap.
How did you start podcasting or deciding this? Or like from school to this?
That is a great question.
He said, fuck education. I'm out. See y'all later.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck your kids. I'm done.
Put that as a soundbite. Fuck your kids.
Fuck your kids. I'm going to play some games myself. That's funny. I didn't come to Dungeons & Dragons until the Adventure Zone came out. I had always known about it, like ambiently, that there was a game with a 20-sided die. And I had always wanted to play it because I love board games. I love creative stuff, and it seemed like something that was on my alley. And of course, like then it was on Community, and then it was Stranger Things to come out. I'm like, yeah, I want to play this. I want to do this. And like I finally got some people to do it for me. I played in only a few sessions, and then like I started running a game for a few of my friends who were then going to eventually return in to join the party. It was Amanda and Julia's husband and Eric Schneider, who edits Spirits, one of the other shows on Multitude. And I remember that I was pretty okay with it when I made Julia cry from a session that I had made up in 15 minutes because someone dropped out. we had done this thing. I was like, fuck, I have 15 minutes, and I was flipping through the monster manual, and I saw the Koatoa, those little fish people who, when they have enough of them together, can create a god. So I threw this thing together. I threw this thing together. There was like, a consulting agency wants some adventurers to come in and to like talk about to fill out a survey, blah, blah, blah. And like they were saying the survey out loud. They were writing this little evil elf was writing on a whiteboard. And then like behind the wall, there were some Koatoa walking around in a fucking kiddie pool, and then turned what they had said into the ultimate god that started attacking the town around there. And then everyone disappeared. And they fought it. And then like the character that Julia was playing had put some like the things that her character had said was like connected to like her relationship with her deity and like her character's dad and stuff. And she like, after they had defeated the demigod that was created by the Koatoa, she like stayed up with it and watched it like fade away once the sun came up, because the Koatoa, they only last until the start of the next day. And then Julia cried, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. I think it went okay. And then from there, I just like been thinking about it a lot. Listening to the Adventure Zone, I was working at SiriusXM in the absolute worst fucking job with Brandon at the time. Brandon taught me everything I know about editing and about recording and about podcasting. And we were like, hey, let's make a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Like, we can do it. Like, we had these thoughts and we should just put them down on paper. And then I was DMing and he was going to edit and sound design. And we roped Amanda in. And then from there, it just kept going. And our triumvirate of me doing creative stuff, Brandon doing production stuff, and Amanda doing business stuff, then came to Multitude, which is the podcast collective of a few shows. And then it started growing, and then we started like touring together and doing live shows together, and Amanda started selling ads for us, and then it became our full-time jobs. We were able to while I was still working at SiriusXM, we got like a contract to do marketing for a show about opera from a public radio station in Chicago. And that was enough for me to quit my job and start doing Multitude full time. Amanda then quit her job at a startup, and Brandon was working at Marvel. And he was able to come to Multitude as well. And we've grown from there, and Join the Party has been the kind of basis of the entire thing. Like the way that we work together, intentionality, making sure that what we do is fun and interesting, both to us as creators and to people listening. And 2 campaigns down, we're weekly now, where it's wild, and we are not stopping. The most recent episode was the last episode of the campaign. We have a final after party about the entire campaign, and then we're doing some one shots, and then which we've already recorded, and then we're going to do an after party about the one shots, and then we're going right into another thing. We're not stopping. And like, we get to do this full time, so I'm gonna fucking play my heart out. You know what I mean? Like, I get to do this. Nothing has made me happier that I don't work in a traditional office than having this job. I say all the time, and I live in Brooklyn. I have a lot of friends. I went to NYU. I have a lot of friends who like work in New York media, like blogs or like digital magazines, like working at Condé Nast or Bon Appetit or whatever, and like seeing them get laid off consistently and constantly. I'm like, no one is going to lay me off from this job. This, it's all going to fail, but no one is going to fire me. And I felt especially lucky as we got an office in 2019. We built a studio that we record in. Brandon then moved to LA in February 2020, and he taught us how to remotely record and how to use the studio. And then, unfortunately, it's history, and we've been ready, and we dealt with the cratering of the ad market in the middle of 2020, and then we still held on to our jobs because people fucking showed up on Patreon, and we're eternally grateful for direct listeners. I say, like, the smallest little silver lining, like it's invisible, you can't see it, is that people realized that supporting small businesses was important, and a small business also counts as a media, podcasts, YouTube, video, visual art, cooking stuff, like buying like cookies from a small person who sells it online. Like, that shit matters, and people really showed up on Patreon, and we were able to keep going, and the rest is history right now.
That's absolutely amazing.
It's fun though. I just want to share the knowledge. I want to be the best guest possible at any time. I'm like, my mic's ready. I have good internet. I'm plugged in. I can record myself if needed. Like, I want to pass that on because this is my job and I want you guys to have a good time. And like, I'm going to just fucking talk.
Dude, I appreciate that. Okay. Like, I'm always so excited to have people on that doesn't matter like where they're at in their creative journey. It's just still so like, I don't know, like this warm feeling inside of watching them just gush about what they love. That makes it so beautiful to just interview someone new every time. And I really appreciate you coming on as well. It's awesome, amazing, magical.
Listen, you're the one with the show. I just get to show up like I came to your house and eat your chips.
You can have my chips,
and I'm going to tell you about the thing that's going on with me. You know what I mean?
If you ever want to go to the middle of nowhere, Texas, Adrian will give you his chips.
I don't want to be here anymore, but yeah, you can have my chips.
I'll show up. That's fine.
The Amtrak comes by. That's all I got to tell you.
Yeah, I'll ride the rails all the way down. That sounds great. Now, Adrian, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Alex has invited me on because Alex has listened to every single episode of Join the Party. Is that correct?
Every single episode.
Thank you. I'm honored incredibly. Adrian, what could I do to put you in a brand new Join the Party subscription?
I don't know. I'm pretty much a cheapskate, so...
Here's the thing. It's totally free. This bad boy has so many dice rolls in it, and it's free.
It has real dice rolls.
Real recorded dice rolls.
Real recorded dice rolls.
You just being here. Once a creative individual's in here, I'm usually invested, so I'll buy their content. Even before, like, if I'm researching them, and if it's me that's bringing them on, I usually either buy some of their stuff because, one, I want to know about them. Do I really want them on? How am I going to actually know them? So since this was a Alex poll, Alex knew them, and Alex was the one that's going to do. For me, like, once you start gushing, you have me hooked pretty much. So, like, I'm probably at one point or another going to grab an episode, and then we'll see how hooked I am. So that's basically it. You show me your creative side. You show me that you're really... like want this and love this, I'm gonna fall in love, you know.
Hell yeah.
You show me mine and I'll show you yours. Is that what you're saying, Adrian? Put the timer on now. We can only make so many jokes.
No, that's fine. That's great. I'm just sitting here. You guys riff. I talk too long.
Look, our riffs are just messy, and usually it has to do with us and our jobs and our just like. By the way, I haven't talked to you in forever. How have you been, Alex? Like, this is like also our call.
It's our mental health check-in.
That too.
I think this podcast literally got us through 2020.
Yeah.
Because I know that both Adrian and I went through some pretty depressive episodes.
Sure.
And so I think not only talking about D&D, which has a quality of healing with it, right? Working through feelings that you may have as a person, but through a avatar, through a character that's obviously not me. I'm not playing through any trauma that I currently have with my character.
Why would you say that? My character's not a representation of shit I need to work out. What do you mean?
Never. I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons with Adrian with my dad's character the week after my dad passed away. I did not do that. That was not healing.
Make her cry.
He did not. I don't have it recorded. It's not
she doesn't
something.
Have it saved to her phone.
I don't have that saved. You know, 2020 fucked us up a lot.
Alex, you want to know the fucked up thing about Dungeons and Dragons? Here's the funny tension about that, right? Is that, like, on one hand, that is so incredibly beautiful that, like, you played your dad's character and then you worked that through. The other thing is the other thing that's happening in my brain, and I'm like, oh, what edition is that character? That must have been a fucking bitch to convert to 5th edition. It's like that. That's why D&D's messed up. that like you need the fucking clickety clacks and the bones of game, and you can't do that because that facilitates whatever you're going to do. But like, goddamn, if you can't leave that stupid thing at the same time, and like that's the thing that's stuck in your teeth that you're thinking about is like, how am I going to optimize this character properly?
And that's true. So it was a little bit. I didn't have my dad's. I had some of what my dad's stats were, because I ran a campaign with my brother and sister, or my sister and her now ex-boyfriend. Praise the Lord.
Fuck that guy. Nice.
Oh my God. Any of the lords. I don't care. But I knew generally what he had, and some of the other stats that I rolled were, things that I then associated with my dad.
Sure.
As you do.
Just trauma processing on live.
Alive, right? Playing through, and then with 3 other people who do not understand, they don't have like the actual knowledge.
Right, yeah.
That Larry Scalafani was in fact like my dad's character, and all they knew was like, why is Alex playing D&D? Because she absolutely just lost her father and she needs to be doing something else.
Why is she crying at this beautiful scene?
Constant crying. Just the whole time. But
me, the whole time, just, did I fuck up? I don't feel like I fucked up, but it
whole
looks like I
time.
fucked up.
Adrian, you did such a bad job DMing. One of your players is crying about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's one of those things that, like, honestly, I don't look at that week as like, oh my God, I had to go through so much and process as the firstborn child who had to file all the paperwork, who had to do it. It's instead a beautiful memory of a very tragic time. And it is funny to, now that we're a year out, it's funny to look back on like, oh, that's what your brain wanted to do. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, it's Dungeons and Dragons is magic, man. Like beyond just the normal magic. Anybody who wants to create a story and maybe they don't feel like they have the prowess to write an actual story, like, I would be very overwhelmed writing a novel or writing even a short story.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel more confident that I could write something in Dungeons and Dragons.
I also invite folks to play other games as well. Like, the wild thing about what we're talking about is that, let's imagine if the sun is the weirdness of human existence, right? And you can't stare at the sun, so you put sunglasses on, and sunglasses is tabletop RPGs or like whatever thing you do to process things. But in this case, it's tabletop RPGs or Dungeons and Dragons, right? And then you're like, wow, I would love some sunglasses. Everyone's talking about how great it is to have sunglasses so I can stare at the sun, so I can be outside. And then like you go to the sunglasses vendor and they're like, hey, if you don't wear sunglasses the way I told you to, and that it doesn't have it in my color, if you don't have red fucking sunglasses, you're a fucking snowflake. Here, buy it for $30 and then buy it again online for $30 more so you have online sunglasses.
And look, we came out with a new wood, and you should put these sunglasses on. It's not changed. It's fine.
Here's a pouch for your sunglasses, idiots.
And then if you say, hey, can I have other colors other than red? Because red feels very, for you, good, but I don't like red sunglasses. They were like, all right, fine. Here's a note that says, if you really need other types of sunglasses, you can do it, but don't show it to me. Walk away and change the color. Like, that's what Wizards of the Coast is to me. Is like, and they keep coming out with like different lenses and stuff, and I'm just like, could you make better fitting sunglasses? Can you make sunglasses in different colors? And they're like, no, now sunglasses are $50. Here's fucking Matthew Lillard wearing sunglasses. Is that good for you? Here's some Rick and Morty sunglasses. Do you want it? And I'm like, but why don't they fit better? I just want to experience the sun.
I just want to experience human existence.
I need this so I can stare at the sun without having my eyes hurt. Why are you giving me Pickle Rick sunglasses?
Why is there a hole in the middle of them drilled out? I don't get it.
Oh, it's something we've been doing since 1975. The guy who invented sunglasses, that's how he wears them, and we keep doing it. What is sunglasses? We have to every day, we have to ask ourselves, what is sunglasses? Look, here's a person of color wearing sunglasses. They're red. Is that good for you? You like that?
That doesn't fit everybody. What? No.
So I just wanted to make that point. I still find it so odd that like we have to pay a massive corporation for like books that they write that are made from their brain when everything about D&D and all tabletop RPGs happen in your own individual table. But it's like some Jeremy Crawford is in your house spying on you, making sure you play D&D correctly. Like that's how they pretend. And I just don't get it. It's so strange, especially with the advent of D&D media and how like they don't do anything about it because like it makes their game look better and more people buy it. So they're like doing like you're creating a whole other creative medium off of this. And like you still put out a book that says, nah, go to the Icewind Dale. The Icewind Dale is good. Here's a monster that's a young woman. Here's a monster that's a mother woman, and here's a monster that's an old woman. But they're in the ice. It's good. Use this.
No, but where's the lie?
That's why I really struggle with it. It's funny. Is like I feel very comfortable with D&D. I'll say, and like we haven't announced this yet, so this is an exclusive for y'all. But the listeners, this will already been announced. But I want to tell y'all, I've been teaching myself Monster of the Week, and we're playing a mini campaign of Monster of the Week, just to like try something else, to like be able to talk about the game and like not feel conflicted. And I'm very excited. I'm really excited about it. We're doing something different. We're doing something that's like, as I said, Monster of the Week is like a supernatural Buffy X-Files thing. So like there's guns, there's crossbows, there's like chainsaws and stuff, and you murder monsters. And we're doing something different. We're setting it at a summer camp, and the characters are going to be 13 and 14 years old, and it's going to be really fun. So we're doing something different. We're messing with that too. But like, you know, I'm kind of excited not to play D&D, for a little bit, even though it's incredibly scary running a different game system for me. And like being, like I said, running a mystery as opposed to like how loose a D&D session can kind of be.
And not ignoring the layer of you're also doing this while trying to present something as media rather than we're just going to play this at home and safe. And if we mess up, it doesn't matter because it's not being recorded.
Exactly.
So I can absolutely see that there's another level of it. So look, dear listener, if you're not recording media all the time and you're not thinking about presenting this to another human being, except for the people currently in your room or in your space on the internet, who the fuck cares?
Yes. Give people mulligans. Redo whole rounds of combat. Like, say, redo conversations. Like redo roles if someone's like, oh, I didn't understand this rule or something. 100%. And of course, like when we play on Monster of the Week, we're going to try to teach it alongside it to be like, yeah, this is how you play. And that's also going to be daunting, trying to teach something that I've recently come to. And I'm really trying to be good about. Also, again, totally other type of medium. I'm playing a mystery. I'm running a mystery instead of just like, yeah, maybe you'll run into like a bad guy. That could be cool.
Like an intentional mystery, not a oops a mystery.
Oops, you don't understand what I was saying. Now exactly. It's a mystery.
Yes, exactly.
I also have learned through this whole year, repeating conversations with people, also a super helpful skill in the real world, where if you are, because you know, being married, Michael and I forgot our anniversary on Monday. We've only been together for 7 years. It's fine. But sometimes, you know, having that conversation with somebody and being like, oh, hold on. Like, I have a lot of feelings right now. This is not what I really wanted to talk about. Let's take 2 steps back and just restart the whole thing. Like, that's a human thing too. So once again, looking at the sun of a human experience, you can reset combat and you can reset. Please don't reset combat with your human friends.
Yeah. Everything I found this from Games and Feelings is like the thing is regardless of what the advice show is, the answer is usually going to be talk to each other.
Yeah.
Just talk about it. Have a conversation.
That's it.
But it feels bad.
Yeah, it does. Oh, fuck. Sure does feel bad, huh?
Yeah.
Now
And even
do it.
after talking
Do it.
about, so here's this week, right? This week in the news, we have the I know. Look, I can't go through major events in history and not bring it up on my podcast because it's my right.
I love
It's my podcast and I'll cry if I want to.
And as somebody who like formerly owned a uterus, it's wild and asinine that there are people who still just want to survive on not being similar to other people. They just like that. Why are you so rooted in not being a part of a group that you have found a group to not be a part of the rest of the group? Does that?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Stop.
Why? Yeah, having the need to restrict someone else's time so that your time feels okay. Yeah.
Right. You don't tell like, all right, these rules, freedoms, you can do whatever you want, except for you. I hate you in particular. Just the way you look. I'm sorry.
It's just the way
Not
that you carry yourself. So like tuck. Sorry.
No, I was gonna relate it to a different thing that I've
go for it. Relate it. Let's go.
Jump.
You got this.
I think going back to what I had said about like the things you need to touch on in like a D&D media, like the things of the tricks of the trade, you feel like you need to talk about like really heavy shit in your game. Like, oh man, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have like an abortion allegory in my game. Man, you got to be really confident that that's what you want to do in your game. Like you don't need to bring that into your fun time, not recorded game at all. And so like you can feel these feelings and then use that through play if you get there as a player, as like working through shit as you did with your dad, Alex, and that the whole game was not, hey, Alex is gonna work through some shit, but you just do it anyway. And like it's very important to be like, what do I want to intentionally put into my game here? Sometimes I'm just gonna like talk about farts and dicks and dragon puss, and like fine, great, sounds good, just like talk about it and like make sure that everyone's okay with it. I remember when people asked me, like when I was going onto some random person's stream or I was going to play in someone's game, usually recorded, someone would ask like, hey, what are some things you don't want in this game? And I'm like, hey, if you're going to put a Nazi or a Nazi allegory in your game, I better punch it. I better be able to punch it and kill it. I think about how I said that, like starting in like 2019 going forward. And now I'm like, I'm going to tell you not to do this in case you thought you were going to do this, right? In case you thought that you wanted to put Nazis in your game. And like really be real fucking careful if you're going to do it. And I'd rather say no so that I don't need to tell you later that you did a bad job and I didn't like that. It's always such a fine line. And I think that when there's things happening outside in reality, you don't need to put that in your game. You can just let it be. You can escape a little bit. We're allowed to escape, even if things that are outside of our control are fucking terrible and reaching on the outside.
Yeah, and I think that also goes into like being okay to say, hey, like this is for like tabletop. Like I do this with my recordings. Like if you're not feeling up to it, that's fine. We don't have to record because I don't want you to be stomaching through a recording just because like you feel like you have to do this. Like you don't. Like, I know that maybe you don't have got the spoons for this, and I do it. I say, hey, not today. I'm sorry. I mean, and I allow my players to say that as well, because just because, like, they're like, oh, but the stream or the recording, I'm like, I know, but I appreciate that. But, like, you're important. You are the important thing. This is supposed to be fun. I don't want you to force yourself to do this because you think I'm going to be disappointed. I am happy that you're with me either one session or 5 sessions. Like, just playing with me is enough fun, okay? So you don't have to worry about me. Just worry about yourself. Get healthy. Let me know if you need chicken noodle soup. Unless you're Alex, then just soup.
There is a noodle soup, just so you know. There is a noodle. I mean, it's still chicken stock, but
yeah.
just an abundance of noodles. Yeah.
You don't like that one? Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
that one.
You said that, and I just thought about a time. I just thought I had soup last week, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on with the soup?" It gave me the worst like acid reflux I think I've had in such a long time. That I was like, "Am I getting old? Is this soup the problem? Like what?" And then it spiraled me into this existential crisis of like, is it me or is it the soup? And it just happened to be tomato basil, and it just happened to be the wrong kind of spice. Look.
Is it me or is the soup the name of my new song?
It's very good.
Is it me or is the soup is the title of my autobiography?
I also want to say, Alex,
Yeah.
that like I don't want you to feel like I was dismissing what you were saying. I think it's more about like having the choice. What you said about like, this is my fucking podcast, I'm going to talk about this thing. It's so true, right? You want to have the choice. I'm going to or not going to do this thing. Nothing is compulsory, right? Regardless of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you don't have to bring the things in your game if you don't, the world outside into your game if you don't want to. But if you do, and if everyone's okay with it and they trust you, then do it. If you find that cathartic. And I think it's very similar to the way that you said, I'm going to say this on my podcast, is like, yeah, you have the option and this is yours and you should do whatever you want. But I guess like I want to give people permission to say no, especially when shit is bad outside.
There's the teacher in you.
Yeah.
That gives the option. And I think that's important because we talked about it earlier, like finding the balance of what I see in media and how other people DM, and then what I can bring to my game, and even how are we using this game in our own life? Are we using it for 100% play? Are we using it to avoid what's going on in the world? Are we using it maybe to help somebody go through something? Like, and once again, having that open conversation at the table is really important because everybody can be on the same page, or at least feel brave enough to speak out when something is upsetting, or, say something when you are enjoying it and maybe it is something a little different than what you're normally doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tabletop RPGs are magic.
I love this. Okay. We did hit the hour mark. I don't want to keep anyone from anything. Any last questions, Alex?
I cannot stop fangirling that you have shared your time and energy with us, and I'm very surprised I did not cry on the podcast, although I did shed tears before we started recording, and those are still real tears. Like I'm thank you for sharing everything you do with us. Everything you release seems to be some level of magic. If you do not go join the party out, go buy some sort of merch and just support, because they are doing Multitude and Eric and everybody on the podcast. They are doing important things right now that are special and different, and I just love it.
Absolutely. Alex, I want to give you the opportunity. I feel like I'm so happy to be on here, and I'm like, yeah, I love the fucking attention. I have the show description of Dungeons and Degrees pulled up. Is there a particular, I'm giving you like a 30-second cameo. Do you have like a character you want me to read this in for you?
Yeah, you're doing it. You're making her cry now.
Would that be fun for you? Would you enjoy that?
Look, my instinct literally says Sour Anthony just to be super obnoxious, right? Like,
I'll do it. I'll do it. It's
but then
fine.
my instinct says Sour Anthony, but I really would just. Can you do it in January's voice?
Absolutely.
Oh,
okay.
I'm gonna die.
So here are the two things. So these are two characters from campaign 2. Sour Anthony is a guy that a lot of these folks basically who are from this particular city when it was just a small town in upstate New York it's called Laketown City. You should just be Laketon. They all have powers that they got from like an event that happened in 1985 that was passed down from their parents. Sour Anthony, he can float, he can fly. That's his thing, and he has a voice like Kermit the Frog. He's like, yeah, fuck you guys, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And January is the little rabbit assistant of Dr. Morrow, who is like this mad scientist. And January is a sentient snowshoe hare, who wears a bow tie and like a little vest. So here we go. Dungeons and Degrees by Adrian C. Lawrence. A conversation with friends talking about the game we love and the life we live around it. if you want to send us any questions or be a part of our community, go to our Twitter at DNDegreesPod. Just listen to it. Don't make it weird. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just listen to it.
In this moment, I also realized you need to update our description because that's not the right handle anymore.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, I'm looking at it. It's Dungeon Degrees. Like linens and things. It's just the end. Dungeon Degrees.
I'm dying.
That cap on letters kind of sucks when you have a long ass name.
100%. I'm dealing with the same. Honestly, that's exactly the same issue I have with Games and Feelings. It's Games and Feelings on Twitter. So truly exactly the same.
And then we found out that you can't. So I was trying to match all of the social medias up to be the same. And I know that that's not a normal thing that people usually do, but like for me and my neurodivergent brain, I needed them all to be the same. Sure. We had figured something out, I think on Twitter, and then we could get it on the Instagram, and then it didn't work for like TikTok. And so we tried something on TikTok, but then it didn't work on Twitter. But you can't change TikTok. You have to wait 24 hours or 72 hours to change it. And so it was, I think, like a 3-month process, because every time I tried to do it, I'd like get frustrated and throw my phone across the room. And I was like, I can't handle this. So there's your I understand your struggle.
I respect it.
The weird things I never thought I'd be doing in my life.
All right. Any last questions, Eric? Because you've been asking them too.
No, I'm enjoying myself. Talking about this with the like rigor that I used to talk about, like pedagogy and teaching styles and stuff, about playing games, running games, and making media off of games is what I think about all the time. So I really appreciate getting the opportunity to do that. And I could just I fucking love praise. Alex, you're really doing it for me right now. This is great.
If you want another boost, let us know. We'll put you back on.
I'll come back for anything. Absolutely. I had so much fun talking to you.
If you're ever feeling just down, I will send you whatever praise you need, I'm sure.
No.
Well, look, you.
Content out of this, Alex. What are you doing?
We talk about this. My self-talk is just bad enough, so I become the thing that I need in my life, and so where my self-talk is bad, my self-talk for other people is good.
It do be that way.
It do be that way.
Okay.
Eric, where can everybody find you? Plug whatever you want. This is your time. This is your moment.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at L_Silvero, EL_SALVERO. My name, if I was a Lucha Libre wrestler. You can find Join the Party wherever podcasts are sold. Campaign 1, like I said, is a fantasy story set in the concentric states with a mysterious thing in the sky, and 3 ruffians from jail need to figure out how to keep the Prince Alonso safe as things start to break bad. Campaign 2, upstate New York metropolis. It's like futurism, modern superhero sci-fi story. Then I wrote an entire reskinning guide for turning D&D into modern superheroes, so I spent a lot of time making it feel good. And then we're starting a Monster of the Week campaign. It's going to be 15 episodes tops, set in a summer camp. Real Americana, real Gravity Falls vibes is what we're reaching for, and I hope you all enjoy it. That's starting soon, but it hasn't started yet, so get a little mini campaign before we go on a very large exploration of whatever we do next. And you can follow Join the Party at Join the Party Pod on Twitter and Instagram and the other socials.
Also, go buy No Capes and Hands Heart. What's the last one? Hands Heart? No. What is it?
What?
What's the other campaign? What's the other game you wrote?
Oh, Hello Lake Town City.
Clear
Eyes Full Hearts. Yes, I made a GM-less game with Misha Stanton about high school sports dramas, a la Friday Night Lights, and that's a full-fledged game you can just play. It's really fun. We played a game of it on the it's in the Join the Party Patreon. We played a game of it. It was really, really fun.
It's very good.
Yeah, and watch out for Games and Feelings. It'll come out. I'm going to plug the shit out of that at some point.
You should.
Hell yeah.
No.
I wrote it down this time. Are you proud of me?
Alex, yes, I'm always proud of you.
That's
fine. Yeah, I know. It's the self-talk. Okay.
Thank you, dear listener, for joining us for another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. You can find us on social media anywhere at Dungeons and Degrees. We also have our growing Discord, so please come join us if you're looking for another D&D community. If you really want to get this podcast out, please share it with your friends and family. Rate us however many of the top stars are on your campaign or on your podcast. Otherwise, your campaign will always fail. That sucks. Don't do that. If for whatever reason your need wants to be monetarily, you can always join us on Patreon. We have wonderful freebies there and cool stickers and pencils because I'm the coolest nerd. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
I'm Praxis.
Go have some fun.